The biggest highlight is Andrew Morris's talk on big data and how we can make the most of it. The reason is that I have got two extreme interests in my own area. One is rare diseases, drug-induced liver injury. You can only do such high quality research if you have access to a huge source of patients around the country and, as I've said, around the world. The second is that conditions like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, you can only do it in a large data sets. So both of the extreme ends of the spectrum of conditions we can research only with the big data.
One was the HDR UK presentation, which I think really just highlighted the potential that data and the integration and collection of data from the UK can really drive forward research and drive forward clinical improvements. And the other presentation, which I found really exciting, was the one on peripheral stimulation for patients with Tourette's, and it's really just how strikingly effective that intervention was, and it's a good example of something that's having a real impact on patients.
I've been talking about the industry priorities of clinical research. We have over 7,500 medicines in development, which at some point hopefully will need to go through clinical trials, and actually talking about what are the opportunities and challenges for clinical research in the UK.
For me, without any question, it is the new treatment that Stephen Jackson in his theme has identified to treating people with Tourette's. This simple peripheral stimulation that can disrupt this urge to tick seems to be fascinating, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing that being translated to NHS care.
Well, my highlight from today is about big data. I am convinced that research of the future is not going to look like the research of the past. And the opportunities that particularly are available to us now that weren't to me during the whole of my research career was the ability to gather and use massive amounts of data. I think that's going to transform how we do research. I don't know how we're going to do it. We're going to need to rely on the computer scientists, upon the mathematicians, and those who are blazing the trail here. And for my mind, that's going to be what I'm going to ask, my junior and researchers and those who follow me. That's where I think the money's going to be.
The highlight of last year was to make this first imaging-guided treatment for treatment-resistant depression possible. It was a major task. It's the first of its kind, and we had to develop the right tools to allowing new navigation so that the people who apply the technique in the NHS for the treatment knew exactly the target that was identified through a unique approach that we developed in Nottingham based on imaging the brain.
Well, as the theme lead, the main issue for the last few months has simply been a rather boring thing, which is getting the governance and planning right. A BRC theme is a big issue. There's a lot of complicated projects, and unless all the funding streams and other things are put together, none of the great researchers there can get their jobs done. So there's been quite a lot of bureaucratic stuff and managerial stuff. That's coming together really nicely.
We had a grant starting, which is Magic 2, you probably know. It's work from one of my colleagues, Luca Marciani, and he's almost like from start to this stage developing a new tool to diagnose constipation and its mechanism behind the constipation in children. So it's very novel that something we have done in pediatrics for the first time. It also is following really a good course. It is getting all the grants which you need for an innovative tool. So I'm very excited with that.
We're on the cusp of the fourth industrial revolution. We're seeing the fusion of biology with computational sciences and mathematical sciences. The opportunity is to harness this revolution and transform the way we understand disease, we care for people living with disease, and transform the way that health systems deliver outstanding services at scale.
So I've known the Nottingham BRC for many years now, and I've always been very impressed with their proactiveness, also their breadth, and their ability to really translate the findings from the laboratory, from the clinic, into larger scale clinical networks. We've historically worked very closely with the Nottingham BRC in recruiting to clinical trials, such as the liraglutide in NASH trial, which was published in The Lancet. And working together with the NAFL Bioresource will allow us to really roll out this network successfully over large parts of the UK, ensuring high levels of recruitment.
In the next year, we are all set up to now looking at the 40,000 exquisite brain scans that we downloaded from the UK Biobank to understand now this interaction between physical health and brain health. And we are looking forward to making discoveries what drives the development towards depression, towards chronic pain from a representative sample in the UK.
We have got a big program grant which Nottingham is leading one of the work packages, and I'm also a deputy coordinator. The program is called TransBioline. This is a 28 million euro grant which involves a number of European countries and 27 partners, industrial partners as well. And we are trying to develop, evaluate, qualify some of the novel biomarkers, truly identify how the drugs cause organ injury. So we launched actually in February, so this program will run for next 5 years.
If we're going to harness data at scale, we need centres of excellence that understand data engineering, and are able to interpret and analyse big data at scale, whether that's data derived from electronic health records or whether it's data derived from other data types such as genomics or even tissue. For example, in Nottingham, Phil Quinlan is doing an outstanding leadership role across the UK, bringing together tissue resources at scale for the benefit of research, innovation and patient care.
I hope that we continue to work very closely with Nottingham BRC. I'd like to see that collaboration extend. I'd like to see us sharing more and more projects. We've worked very closely together for liver, but it'd be nice to see that collaboration broadening out across other conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease and the like. So the priority in the next year is to get the bioresource established, get it open, start to recruit patients across 3 and then 13, 15, 20 clinical sites. That's the aim in the first year. After that, we continue to increase more and more sites, aiming for 70 to 80 in the UK, and alongside that make sure we can recruit large numbers of patients, aiming for 7,000 to 8,000.
The UK is really important for the pharmaceutical industry for our research and development, and in 2017 the industry invested £4.3 billion. And what's really important going forward is that we keep the UK as a key place to do clinical research in the future.
So thinking for the future, one is of course to deliver the existing projects. A second is to explore collaboration between the themes, particularly PhDs. And the third is to think of the next BRC. We want another BRC, and that needs to be, again, as far-sighted as this one has been. And so we need to be thinking now about what will be our areas of strength, what will be the future challenges that we have to have on the horizon